Well, hello. It's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. You're on CarTorque with Matty J. Join the studio with James and Adam. How are you, boys?
How you going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, tonight we're talking about it's a sad topic, really. The end of one of the big three in Australia with the end of manufacturing here for the Ford Australia, Ford Motor Company. They'll obviously be importing cars and keeping the cars in from the States and that. But as far as Aussie cars go, this is as far as they go. On Friday at 10 a.m, the last Falcon or Territory will roll off the line, and it's all over. So I thought for tonight's show, we'd take a trip down memory lane and talk about some of the great times and some of the great cars that Ford Australia has produced. Over the years, they've been here for a long time, and the Falcon's over 50 years old. So it is sad. It is very sad. That they obviously finished making the engines up last week, and this week they're going to shut the Broady factory up. The last car will roll off the assembly line. So sad news in car world. What are your thoughts about it, guys?
It's definitely pretty sad.
It is pretty sad.
I'm not really a massive Ford guy, but Fords are cool. That they've made some pretty cool cars that have changed the way we see the automotive industry in Australia as well. I mean, the Barra. Matthew told me a rumor that people from the States are actually buying Barra crate engines or wrecked Barras and taking them over to the US, shipping them over to the US, and they're building 1,000 horsepower, drag cars or street cars, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a bit of Aussie manufacturing that's going, and that's the main thing the people in Australia are really gonna miss, that engine, particularly because Ford Straight Six. It's a wonderful motor, that, and it's obviously they've made the last one, but they're that popular that they're getting kind of shipped everywhere. People are wanting them, especially in the States. So,
with all that being said, are Ford going to have any crate motors left over, or literally the last one will be this week and that's it?
Well, I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I wonder how much they've got sitting around.
I'd say they'd have a few, but I wouldn't say they'd have many.
They should make a heap of them and just put them in a warehouse.
Just keep them there.
Just keep them.
You'd think so, but who knows what they'd do? Which it'd be a shame if they didn't. But having said that, with the way the company is wanting to tighten up on money, I don't think they're gonna have any money like other companies do, and just keep it aside, which is really sad because as you guys know, it is a great engine. It's fantastic. People overseas and stuff call it the Aussie 2J for its strength and tunability, which is true. They make good power out of it for not a lot of money.
Have the Americans got any sixes in their Fords, or many at all?
What do you mean?
Like a straight six?
Not in Fords, no.
They're all Vs.
They're all Vs, yeah.
It'd be awesome if they could adapt the straight six, the Barra, and then the Broady plant could stay open. Oh no, sorry, that'd be the Geelong plant, yeah. And just pump out engines.
It'd be good. I think it was Wheels magazine that they did a render of a Mustang with potentially a Barrow, and they're like, that'd be the middle gap between.
I reckon people are going to do a swap.
I reckon it's
going to happen. It's going to happen.
It'll happen. It's definitely going to happen. Definitely going to happen. It should have happened. Because the reason why they're bringing it into it is because it's not going to meet the new Euro emissions. But obviously, for the last few times, they've just changed a few things and made it comply.
Just put an extra cat in there, she'll be right.
Extra cat, mystery cat.
First mod.
Yeah, first mod. But it would have met compliance. Just had to redevelop it a little bit more, do a couple other little things, and it could have met it. But having said that, in the end, the Ford engineers are probably listening to us saying these guys got no idea.
Okay, yeah. So if we got no idea, okay, what about Volkswagen and their chipping scandal?
Exactly right.
So don't worry, Ford engineers can work it out. I'm sure they could. They could not Dieselgate, which is yeah, but
questionable.
Very questionable. But look, it's it is sad because I've obviously owned an Aussie built car, and I'm pretty sure most of our family, like, or you'd know someone that's had a Falcon or Fairmont or whatever it is.
I was just driving one today.
Yeah,
well, so the territory at work, so smashing that thing around it for a four-wheel drive, that engine, all-wheel drive actually. Yeah. It's all-wheel drive, and man, it goes well.
They got pulled. They actually.
It's for a big car. It just launches.
2 and a bit ton as well. Like.
I'd love to drive a turbo one.
Turbo ones go very well. They go very well, which is quite kind of funny because you wouldn't expect it out of a territory.
No.
And having said that, the Territory was a great car as well. You got to remember that's finishing up.
That's an Aussie built one.
That's an Aussie built and designed. The only SUV that was ever built and designed here. Well, you could say the Adventurer was, but it wasn't really. It wasn't really much. It was
like the Holden Adventurer.
Yeah,
that wasn't a four-wheel drive. That was a station wagon on roids.
On roids, that's all it was. Well, a lot of people argue that the Territory is that, but the Territory was actually a full ground up build.
It's completely different.
It is, yeah. And we had a comment on our Facebook page about the Territory. They're like, "Oh, it's a good thing it's ending." Well, it's because of the suspension problems I had. That was on the earlier one. The ball joints and stuff were going. But by the time they got to SY, like the first update, which was like a year and a bit in, they had it all cleared. So as with any car, you buy the first one, you're gonna get bugs regardless.
Yeah, but you fix a few of those little things, and whoop-de-doo, it's just a few rubbers, man. Look, you're looking at maybe $1,000 parts and labour to replace everything, right? And then you're sweet for another 300,000 Ks if you even have the car for that long.
It's a Falcon. It's based on a Falcon, so
it's based on a taxi.
Yeah, pretty much. And they go forever. So.
Spec.
And that's a thing as well. Like I was reading a lot of people online. They're talking about buying a few of them and and just keeping them as like to drive just because we're not going to have them anymore. Obviously, the parts are cheap. Parts are really cheap on them. Which is
for now though. I mean, how long is Ford going to support?
That's exactly. Well, they haven't actually announced that, to be honest. So we don't know how long they're going to support for, which would be really it'd be really crappy if they don't support it. And and as soon as they end production, if they jack up the prices, it'd be a real kicking them in the balls to pretty much.
It wouldn't surprise us if it did though. If they did.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to do it because it wanted to be a disgrace, and two, for all the people that have an Aussie built car and they're going to pay European premium prices, it'd be very pathetic on their part, to be honest.
Government.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So yeah, that's all I have to say.
But look, at the end of the day, the Ford Australia is pretty much out of here. So within the last 3 days, we've got of the Broady plant still opening. We'll take a walk down memory lane and talk about our favourites over the past few years. I know I've got a fair few, and I'm sure you guys as well. So we'll probably get to that, but we're gonna have to go to a break and a song, and we'll get to that right after this. You're listening to CarTorque 98.9 Northwest FM. That was Tame Impala. You're back on 98.9 Northwest FM. This is CarTorque with Matty J. You were still in the building with James from Estlbshd and Mr. Adam Grassman Grasso. What is happening?
Just having a bit of a discussion about some of the rare Fords we've got around out and about. Actually, something that Ford's released over time.
Over the break, we're talking about.
Yeah. So some cool stuff that they've released. Some very limited numbers. With obviously with Ford going bust in Australia. Anyway, they're manufacturing in Australia. Some of these. I guess great examples of cars will be
worth a bit of coin.
And something special you don't see every day. And I think they're not going to get out of the garages as often now. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. Look, we'll just. I mean, the last thing we were discussing was let's start with something a bit fresh. I mean, this is not the latest FGX sort of fresh, but this is BF series.
BF Mark II, right?
BF Mark II GTs, the FPVs, and we're checking them out, and there's apparently only 200 units built of these, so only 200 of the R spec, so the GT R spec. So these were beefed up a little bit beyond the GT, so the better suspension, etc. So 200 built, and. Yeah, I mean, look, I'll run through a few statistics. 200 built, 175 released to Australia and only 25 to New Zealand, which makes them a very, very rare car. And 111 were manual.
Okay.
with about 14 of them with the upgraded brakes.
So it would have had the 6 spots.
6-pot brakes, Brembos.
Yeah.
And then 89 of the automatics and 9 of them with the upgraded kits. So makes them a very rare car. Something that's, I mean, look, I haven't got the actual statistics of their power, but
and that was the black and gold, right?
Black and gold, yeah. So apparently that's a reverse. That's a reverse colour scheme of the original GTs.
It was I think, XR GT, right?
I believe it was an XR GT. So the XR GTs were gold with a black stripe.
Yeah.
New ones were black with a gold stripe, which I guess is a bit of homage.
Homage, yeah.
To the old school. But power figures, that's something I have to sort of go through.
They were the same as, I think, 290, but then the Cobras, the BF2 Cobras were an R-Spec as well, but they were a limited edition R-Spec, and they had 302 kilowatts.
Oh, there you go.
So they had a bit of extra go.
Awesome. Yeah, the Cobras look cool, but it just wasn't the same. I mean, something like the R-Spec, the XC
Cobra, which they were trying to pay homage to.
Well, you can't. I mean, it's a coupe.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. The body completely different.
Yeah.
Because a coupe, it looked tough.
It did.
You can't replicate that. But I mean, look, there were some custom garages that made two-door XR6s. I mean, with Ford getting on that bandwagon, they could have made a two-door Cobra, I guess.
They could have. Like, I mean, if Holden could do it with the Monaro and it was really popular, they could have done a two-door Falcon. They should have done a two-door Falcon, but they chose not to.
Unfortunately.
Well, I'm gonna reel a few of my all-time favorites. I'll get your thought on them, guys. Well, obviously the Typhoon series, because it was something different, and Ford Australia, FPV in particular, really tried to step up their game and get away from the whole V8 crowd and try to get in with the more younger, the younger people that were into turbocharged performance cars. So they're like, okay, well, if we can't beat him in V8s, we're going to join him, and then they took an XS6 Turbo and kind of went spastic with it. As I said, I've bought one, and I reckon it's a great car. To be honest, I always wanted one, so that's been probably my all-time favourite. Especially if you can find one in a clean R-Spec, that you've got an awesome car.
With that on that subject,
yeah.
I can remember having a chat to you, and then this was probably going back 5 to 6, maybe more years.
Okay.
There was a green Typhoon. Now, do you have a bit more detail on that one? The unfortunate details on that one.
It was an R-Spec. It was a one of one in that color, in dash green R-Spec.
Sorry, it wasn't a Typhoon.
It was a Typhoon.
Oh, it was a Typhoon R-Spec.
Typhoon R-Spec. Yep. One of one in dash green for R-Spec. They had one more dash green, but it wasn't an R-Spec. It was a special order color, and
it was a one-off.
One-off, and you couldn't order this color as what's it called? As a R-Spec car, because R-Spec was limited to Vixen Red, Winter White, and I think it was Lightning Strike Silver.
Yeah, so this was a crossover between the R-Spec and the Typhoon, something very limited.
Yep.
And very unique.
Very unique. I don't know how they got it through Ford, but it was a genuine R-Spec. And it was on sale a few years ago, and I finally convinced the fam to say, okay, let's go have a look at it. The day I went to go have a look at it, it was sold, and a couple of years on, I saw some pictures of it getting parted out. It was wrecked. So that's kind of heartbreaking for a one-of-one car, to be honest. It's never going to happen again. So really, really sad. I think the front bar is still for sale on eBay somewhere. But yeah, it's sad. It is very sad. It's also a one-of-one. It would have been worth its money. And it was fully optioned as well. Had the big brakes, had the sunroof, had the leather, had everything.
So someone spent big just to have that combo.
Yep.
And now it's gone.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. That's another one to tick off off the face of the FPV agenda. Moving a bit older, ELXRs were always a big fan of those EL and EFXRs. Tickfords. We're heading back into Tickford days. So I was, obviously loved the shape of them. Loved the front end. The front end was really cool, really striking.
Very, very mean looking car, especially when they're kitted out with the full Tickford kit. I mean,
a friend of mine had one. A friend of mine's mum had one.
They're good look. What colour was it?
White.
White would look good. I love the red. I love the blue as well. They look amazing. They look like tough cars.
They are a tough car.
They had projectors.
Had stripes, man.
They look.
Had blue stripes on it.
They didn't come with blue stripes.
I swear they had blue stripes on it.
I'm pretty sure they didn't come in.
Oh,
I wasn't on the production line, but I'm pretty sure that I never saw an ER with blue stripes.
It could have been an aftermarket or
I don't know. But it was cool.
Or a dealer job.
Could have been speed stripes, like those mafia ones. No, they're cool looking cars. Once Tikva got their hands on it, it's just a shame that they disappeared, but they made cool cars. And
they're getting pretty sought after these days because a lot of them are pretty much gone, but they were held in high regard. They were actually taken over to Europe and tested over there as well against some of Europe's best cars. And even though it had a live axle, they loved it there, especially in the XR6 trim because the XR6 was surprisingly quicker than the XR8 because it was lighter and it had a lot more torque, which it didn't have a lot more torque, but it had pretty much on par torque with it. So really got out of the blocks quick, and then they handled actually surprisingly well for a car of that era. Going a bit further back, an ED XR8 Sprint, one of my all-time favorite cars. You can't find them basically. Grasso and I were at All Ford Day earlier in the year. And we met a guy and his son, and
that was the immaculate one.
20,000 kilometers on it.
Yeah,
this thing had the original tires.
Yep, original tires.
Everything. It was like it came out of off the factory floor.
The tires didn't crack till now. Far out.
They were cracked.
Yeah, they're not roadworthy. Let's say that. But original tires. This I blew me out of speechless. I still can't find words to describe it. Like a time machine.
He'd get
literally.
If he wanted 40 grand, I reckon someone would pay the money for that.
I reckon someone would pay 100 grand for it if they really wanted it.
Yeah.
But it's always only worth what someone's willing to pay. But with that being said, Ford could buy that and put it in their
heritage fleet.
Pretty much, it's a piece of history. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah, it does.
That's how immaculate it was.
This thing was insane. It was the cleanest car I've ever seen. And he was going to buy I think he was buying a GTF as well to have beside it.
Yeah, okay.
So he was saying he was going to buy a GTF and have them parked next to each other. But the good thing about the ED XR8 Sprint was that it was basically an EB GT without the body kit,
without the kit, yeah.
And without all the extra weight. It was quicker. Had pretty much the same power. And it was a better car to drive, apparently. It was a lot nicer car to drive than the GT was.
Yeah, I guess hence the name Sprint.
Yeah. They were actually quick, and they gave the VP SSs and I think VR SSs of the time would have made them good run.
I think they were just heavy, and they just had a lot of... They made a lot of noise.
They did, yeah.
But anyway, I'm not going to go down that path tonight.
But yeah, that's another cool car. Going back a bit further... I'd say I always liked the XF. There was no V8 in an XF, but
there was nothing fancy in the XF series, was there?
If you wanted a Fairmont gear with a handling pack, if you wanted to get for it, so that you got upgraded sway bars or anti-roll bars and Bilstein shocks. So you pretty much got the similar setup to an XEESP suspension setup in a XF.
Yeah.
And they handled okay. They were still a bit of a boat, but they were a nice looking car. They were well optioned. They had they had everything in them. And then obviously if you go back one more, the XE ESP, and if you go on in a 5.8, cannot go wrong. ESP stands for European Sports Pack. Just for those listeners who don't know what an ESP is.
Yeah, that was more of a dress kit. It was like a few little fancy things here and there, but came with. Look, I can't remember the stereo exactly that it was, but it was decked out with a proper stereo system. No, just standard head unit.
Yeah, it was good.
It had electric windows,
shield seats.
Yeah, it had that. What were they? What did you say they were? The name?
The seats.
Yeah,
shield.
Yeah, they were just the
bucket
seat. They're bucket seats. They look like race seats. They look awesome. Something now that you couldn't even replicate. Apparently, that material is
super hard to get.
Yeah, almost impossible to get.
Stripe kit.
The stripe kit.
Well, it wasn't a stripe kit as per se. It was more like a stripe.
Two tone,
yeah.
and then it had the gold snowflakes as well. I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough, I believe you can get it with the shaker. I think they were.
You could have optioned them. I'm not too sure.
So I have seen a few with them. I don't know if they were.
I think they'll probably put afterwards.
Yeah,
but I'd say some companies back then probably would have just done it anyway. You just take it there, and they would have done it. They would have done that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
an actual working shaker, we should say. Nothing like the new the BA shakers that I've seen.
They just sit there. But they were cool as well. ESPs, because they had their different headlights as well. They actually had a driving light inside the headlight.
I don't remember that, but okay.
Which is a really cool piece of trivia. I found that out by speaking to a friend, Jason of mine, and he was telling me he always wanted an ESP for years. You know, he had a really clean XE, and he could just never get it. So he tried to build his own, and he got all the parts for it, and then he ended up selling the XE. And he had he had the gold snowflakes, he had the headlights, had everything to make it look like an ESP. But he's like, it just wouldn't be the same. It's not an ESP. He's like they used to get stolen quite a fair bit. So, no.
So, elaborate a little bit more on these driving lights, because I'm interested.
So pretty much it was like an extra beam inside the standard XE headlight.
Okay.
So it was they were like black as well inside. So they instead of like your normal like whitish color.
Yeah.
So they were really cool. And they were ESP only. So
okay, cool. That'd be rare. That'd be a rare thing.
They are rare things to have. I was surprised when he told me he even had a set. I don't know how the hell he would have got them. But yeah, going back a little bit more. Obviously, an XB GT Coupe. It's like one of my all-time favorite cars. They're just tough. Like they're just.
I think GTs of the 351. They're sick.
Yeah,
very rare.
Yeah.
Just to see maybe more than one in one spot would be awesome. But I think any XB, XA, XB Coupe is just a sick-looking car.
They are.
And I don't know why Ford stopped at them. They never made a coupe again.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was legit it afterwards.
They were fat. They look cars. They look good. They were mad,
especially with that sort of ducktail.
Oh yeah, they sort of had a bit of a ducktail, but it was like a very blunt, flat rear end. But it didn't matter because it looked sick. It was very high.
Yeah,
it looked awesome. Mad Max.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. And Mad Max was what really got me into them. But yeah, if you could go back a bit more, like you can say about the Cobras, but Cobras didn't really do much for me. Hoeys, look, I like them. Don't get me wrong, they're worth a crap load of money.
They're overrated.
But I'd have a XB GT over a Hoey anyway.
The only look, okay, let's. We're probably skewing a little bit off, but this just angers me just a little bit, right? It just hits that one nerve, right?
Yeah.
You got GTHO, sweet. They're a cool looking car. They sound good. They look okay.
They went good.
To me. Anyway, they go good too, right? But the only reason they're popular is why they won Bathurst, right?
That's correct.
And what was there as well?
Charger,
the Valiant Charger,
yeah,
which was a coupe,
yeah,
right? That was faster than the GTHO. Hands down, it was faster.
Should have won.
It could have won.
Could have won.
That's Chrysler's problem. But
yeah,
that's the only reason why they're popular. Yeah. I mean, look, if the XB GT won, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But you know, it just happened to be that one car, one Bathurst.
Also, the Phase 3 was a special car. It was pretty much a race car from the factory.
It was. So was the RT Chargers.
Yeah.
They were built. I mean, look, what was the policy? They had to sell X amount. Sorry, they had to. What was the saying? Sell on Monday, win on something like that.
Win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Exactly. So if they could sell X amount of units, they could race them.
Yeah.
And they did, and they raced, which was that was something cool.
But it was pretty much a car, like the story goes, they used to buy him, in Sydney or Melbourne.
And drive him down, right?
Drive him to Bathurst to run him in. They used to drive him on the freeway.
That's awesome.
They used to run the engines in and then race him, which is really cool.
And you just don't see that. They're not going to drive a V8 supercar to Bathurst, on the roads and stuff. But
road tuning, eh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just sit there in the laptop, just tuning the thing as they go along. I mean, it's just not like it used to be. But yeah,
like it would have been cool, but like they drive like pigs, and they're
not easy to drive.
They're not easy cars to drive. And imagining how hard they would have been to drive back then.
Yeah.
Like they would have been no power steering.
No power steering, the heavy clutch. Yeah.
They were a bit boaty too.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I mean, the HO stood for handling option, but like,
where did that come in?
3 versions.
But basically, like, you got to remember, like, they had the flattest of flat seats. They used to slide around in the seats, so they had big cojones to drive them at the speeds they did. And
it's pretty scary.
It's a very scary prospect. Like having said that, they've come a long way as cars these days, you know, have. But having said that, you know, credit where credit's due. Like the engine wise, that car was the fastest 4-door sedan, you know, in the world at the time. It held the record for a long time. I think until the VL Turbo, actually, believe it or not, came along. Which is, don't quote me if I've heard that from somewhere. A VL Turbo was for a while as well, and then it got beaten by something else.
Because it was turbo.
No, because it was turbo, yeah.
And they borrowed the Nissan engine.
Pretty much.
So that's not even we can't even start there.
The Walkinshaw VL?
Yeah, the Group A Walkinshaw.
That was the fastest 4-door sedan?
Yeah, I believe. It says here they developed the team under Tom Walkinshaw, HSV. They won Bathurst in 1990.
Yep. There you go.
Toppling, you know, Ford's dominant Sierra and the Nissan's the new Skyline.
Yeah,
GTRs
based on the same motor, so we can't really complain.
It's all related. But yeah, there's plenty more on my list as well. Like you could talk about the XR6 Sprint, the last of the XR6.
The last XR6 Sprint, XR8 Sprint,
which was a ridiculously fast car.
What do you think of the FGX though?
It grew on me.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan, but having said that, it's a lot better now than when I first saw it. To be honest with you, the FG has aged quite well, and it's a nice little looking car.
Yeah, especially the Raccoon.
Yeah, definitely. In the FPV models with like the F6310, which is another one up there for me. That was a cracking car, the F6310. But then
the FGX XR8 came out 335 kilowatts, under 60 grand, did a 12-second quarter mile from factory.
Supercharged.
That's impressive.
Off the factory floor, it's a lot of power for the money, and it's a good package for the money at the end of the day. But having said that, like, you know, you are getting a dated interior, you are getting this, you are getting that. You're not getting, like, for example, in an SSV, like a new one, you're getting a nice new interior, tons of bazillion extra features. And
that weighs the car down.
I felt like the FGX was like a rushed.
It was.
Thing, yeah.
It was. Ford Australia pretty much had no money left in the budget anyway. So that's what kind of makes the XR8 and XR6 Turbo Sprints really, really special, because they pretty much redesigned the whole suspension tune, like engine calibration, everything. Rare as well. There's hardly any of them, and
they sold out before they even were released.
Before they were released, yeah.
And no one really heard about them.
Yeah, unless you were in the know. You know about them, but that's.
I mean, we saw them at all Fords when they were in production stage.
Yep. Do you remember what that guy wrote on the?
I still got the photo. Yeah, 318 lol.
Yeah, it had on the top of the supercharger. It said, you know, Boss 335, and the guy crossed out the 335 and put an arrow that said lol.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would have had a lot more power. But yeah, they're cool cars. A friend of mine's got a FGX XR8, and it's quite a fast car. Being in a supercharged V8, actually, it's a different feeling. They put you in your seat, believe me. But one extra one I'd like to throw out there would be the GT R-Spec. It's a GT Black, but it's had the R-Spec suspension. So there was about 125 of them made. And this is in the FG. This is in the FG model. Straight black, had really cool, like, matte black decals that said, you know, Boss 5.0 and not Boss 335. Yeah, it was really cool car, really rare car as well. So I've said my favourites, guys. What about yours? Your favourite Fords, Aussie made Fords over the years? Because it is a sad time. So
Aussie made Fords. All right, real quick before I do the Aussie made Fords. I don't know if you heard on the couple of days back. 2012 FPV GT was stolen. The guy from Martini Racing. Yeah. His car was stolen from his factory, I think down in Roadville.
It was a white one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Cartel.
Plates Cartel. So C4RTEL. Yeah, I guess keep an eye out, guys. If you see it, it's a one of a kind car. Yeah, just report to the police, I guess.
Yeah, definitely report it to police because it's sad. He's one of the one of the top guys on the FPV fan, like it's a small club they have there. I've seen the car personally. It sounds unreal, but it's just the scumbags out there that steal people's car. No worse thing than touching a man's ride.
That's it, man. All right, my favourites. Good old XR GT.
Yep.
They're pretty cool. Even just the 500.
Yeah.
Some people are now mocking up the GTs.
Yeah.
And it's not really that hard either. Just the interior, I think a dash and
just some outside trim.
Outside trim, basically it. That's pretty cool. Like, are we talking Ford range in general?
Well, we're talking Aussie-made Fords because it is the end of Aussie-made production for Fords this week. So it is sad.
Other than Falcons, I don't really have a lot of favourites.
Yeah.
I mean, I never knew what like an FPV, like a Typhoon was before you got one, and riding in that thing. I mean, that was nostalgic. That brought back like the Skyline days.
Yeah.
You know, six-cylinder turbos. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's an Australian car, so. Yeah,
they, as I said, that's the reason I bought one, because
yeah, guaranteed.
Had a bit of that six-cylinder growl and and a turbocharger attached, but
heaps of torque and
tons of torque. Yeah. What about you, Ads? Any on your wish list?
Yeah, look.
I know during the break we're talking about Cortinas.
Yeah, Cortinas. Yeah, look, my mum actually had a Cortina. I can't remember the colour, but I do remember photos of the bright red vinyl interior. It looked cool. But yeah, look, Cortinas are cool. We were just talking about, I saw one down at Small Fords one day, and I regret not inquiring further into it because it was like
a barn find.
Say, like a barn find. An old man had it, and it was looked after. Needed obviously a little bit more TLC, but it had the 4-cylinder in it still, and yeah, I was saying, drop a barrow in there and watch it fry through all the gears. I mean, like they're cool looking little cars. So yeah, I like the Cortina, but that's a small Ford. I know it's Aussie. It's still a small Ford. But I also, like I was going to say, I'm partial to coupes. So I do love the XA, XBs. They're sick looking cars. I do like the ESPs, but good luck finding them, just like the XA, B, and C.
Yeah.
One that is still in reach at the moment, I guess, is the EL XR6 or XR8s. Mm-hmm. They're sick looking cars, like we were saying before. They're some of my favourites.
You're looking at a 4.6 as well, weren't you?
4.6, yeah, silver 4.6. That, yes, you have mentioned to me quite a few times. We've saying that with limited build numbers, like we were talking about before. How many of them were built? Like
99.
99.
They are legit the rarest FPV made.
And that is pretty much a F6 Typhoon without. Oh, actually, sorry, I'll rephrase. It is an F6 Typhoon decked out for a Fairmont gear. So we're talking performance luxury instead of just straight out performance.
Yep.
And I believe the one you tagged me in was it had the big brake kit. I think it had almost every option you could get.
Yeah, pretty much,
obviously no sunroof because they didn't come with them, but yeah, every option that it could come with, which was pretty cool. Yeah, they're a cool car, and that's something new, but yeah, it's there's some of my faves, I guess.
Definitely, an EL or EF XR is still in reach. If you find a good one, they actually they're commanding more money now than like a BA.
Well, with that being said, there is still one for sale, and it's an XR8 EL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say the number plates, but I remember off the top of my head because it's a cool car, and I saw it at all Fords, and it's still for sale. Now, look, he is asking for a slight premium. I think he's asking for like 16 grand. Okay. But mind you, I believe it's got very low Ks for what it is.
Like best one.
Yeah, it's a manual.
Yeah.
it's clean as anything.
Yeah.
We're not talking like less than 50,000 Ks, but still, it's in the range of say 80,000 to 150,000. So it's in that range. It's very low Ks for a car that age. It's the Ford Blue. I can't remember what the name is, but it's a sick looking car. Full kit, full Tickford kit. Nice looking car. But yes, if they're demanding about 15 grand, it's not impossible, but they're getting up there. But you could probably get a bit more of a rough example for, let's say, 4 to 8 grand.
Yeah, about that.
Thereabouts.
About that.
Maybe with slightly higher Ks. But then again, you just rebuild and she'll be right.
Exactly right. And some of the parts on those are really hard to find as well. Being if it was option with a Tickford body kit.
And Tickford body kits, yeah, that would be. The only thing was those cars obviously were affordable for, let's say, teenagers getting their first car, and a lot of them are thrashed. They're killed, and there was a lot of them around. Actually, I don't know the build numbers of them, but there'd be heaps.
There was a lot of them made.
Yeah.
I think I was reading something about it. It was like, for every, I think it was like 10 Falcons or 20 Falcons, there was an XR in there.
There you go.
So,
and that's a lot. That's a lot, because they would have sold a lot of Falcons.
Yeah. Look, it's that time of the night. My favourite time of the night, quiz time. Grasso, the grass man, Adam, I said your name backwards, is in the hot seat tonight. Trying to beat what's your top score? I think
it was 7.5.
7.5, yeah. So, this is an all Aussie Ford special. All Aussie, all Fords that were built in Australia we're going to talk about. So, are you ready, Adam?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, you're as ready as you're going to be. So, be prepared. The music is on. Question 1, Mr. Adam Grasso. Lasers and Capris were built in which plant?
Lasers and Capris were built in, I don't know, Broady plant.
Nah, the Homebush plant in Sydney.
I wouldn't have even known that. So that's it.
Question 2. What time will the last Falcon roll off the line on Friday?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. That's correct. Question 3. How much boost did an F6 Typhoon have? I've told you about this like many times.
Can I give a range?
If you give me a range, I'll give you half a point.
Okay. 8 to 11.
8 to, yeah, it's 9.4.
Oh, see, it's right in the middle, mate.
So 0.5, I'll give you 0.5. Where are we? Question 4. What is the rarest in sales of an FPV?
Say that again, sorry?
What is the rarest FPV in terms of units built?
Besides the 4.6, that green FPV, that green Typhoon, that was one of one.
Well,
but we're talking build numbers.
Models,
yeah. Models 4.6.
4.6, that's correct.
Yeah.
Question 5. What was the first model to carry the ESP badge?
XE. Oh no, sorry, XD.
XD, correct.
Yeah, because the XEs were. Yeah.
There's not many XD actually ESPs there. They're quite very rare. Question 6. Eric Banner has what type of Falcon?
Oh, it's an X series XD.
Nah, he's got an XB GT coupe.
I was close.
Close.
Oh, so did I say XD?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. I got it wrong.
That's right.
Trying to redeem it.
Trying to redeem. Question 7. HO in GTHO stood for what?
Handling option.
Correct.
He's listening.
He was listening. GS stood for what in Ford models?
GS.
It was always below the GT models, GS.
Jeez, I don't know. Grand Sports.
Grand Sport, yeah, correct. It's a lucky guess.
Well, GT's Grand Touring, so Grand Sport, I guess. That was the next option.
Next option, correct. Before the G6E Turbo or any of the FGs, what was Ford's flagship long wheelbase car?
Before, so say that question again for me for a second.
Before put it this way, before the FG